Hi, I'm Cody.
And I'm Charlie.
And this week's episode of WX4 features
Klezmer Local 42, who plays a
clarinet,
conga,
a guitar,
violin,
the accordion,
and an upright bass. Well, welcome to the show, Dan
Thanks.
and Eddie of Klezmer.
Thank you very
Local
much.
42, correct?
Klezmer Local 42, correct.
Awesome. Well, we're going to jump straight into the question jar.
Thank you.
Oh,
You go first.
man. I'll take vanilla. How did you come up with the name of the group? I'll field this one. I wanted to call the band Whitefish, and everyone was like, no. So, I was walking down the street in my hometown, and I passed by a building, and it said, Pipe Fitters Local 242. I was like, ding! Wouldn't it be great if Klezmer was so popular we had our own union? So I thought, Klezmer Local 242. And then Abel Kleinbaum, our former accordion player, said, that is too long. It should just be 42.
42, right?
And that's how the name came to be.
Okay.
It's based on a fantasy about Klezmer and organized labor. They're both total fantasies of mine. Have nothing to do with my actual life.
Or everything.
Well, for the people that might not know what Klezmer is, why don't you
yes.
give them the definition, or at least your definition?
Okay, I'll field this one. I describe Klezmer as Jewish music with Eastern European roots.
Why don't you give us the name of the members and what they play in the group?
Ooh, Eddie, you do this, man. I have no memory. I need a drink.
Well, Dan Horowitz, who is our fearless leader, he plays the bass and vocals. I play percussion and also do vocals. Adam Poulin plays...
That's Eddie Glicken, by the way. That's his name.
Adam Poulin plays violin and does vocals. Scotty Nicholson, violin and vocals.
No, he plays guitar.
I'm sorry, guitar and vocals. Everybody plays violin. Bud Freeman, clarinet. Eric Linder, saxophone. And Noel Beverly plays mandolin and guitar and vocals. Who am I missing? And Joe Ellison, drummer.
Okay.
And Philip Conan
Philip
plays
plays
accordion and sings, and he plays guitar too.
It's getting hard to keep track
So
of
how
everything.
There's
many
a lot of
members?
us. We max out at 9 people.
9
Yeah.
people.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of hungry mouths.
How do rehearsals go?
Well, we don't really. I mean, here's how the rehearsals go. Me, Eddie, and Bud show up, and occasionally some other people trickle in.
I got you.
So the sound is very free for all and not on purpose.
Now, are there Klezmer standards that you as a Klezmer band, like, y'all should know?
I would say that's true for like weddings.
Yeah.
There are certain and actually a lot of the wedding songs, some of them are Klezmer and some of them are kind of Hebrew standards, not Klezmer, but more modern Israeli.
Okay.
And by modern I just mean 20th century.
Right.
But there's a combination there, and that stuff is kind of expected at weddings. And then I would say no. I mean, the canon of Klezmer is huge.
Right.
It's so large. And I mean, everyone knows Hava Nagila, and I describe that song as the Freebird of Jewish music. And therefore, we don't ever do it except at weddings, and then we do.
Right.
Because it does get people dancing. It's like automatic. They can't help it. They don't even want to dance. They're like, I'm not going to... Hey, what's happening to...
So how long have y'all been a group?
Oh, wow. 7, 8 years easily.
Wait, you started, 2009? 2008?
Sure, I'll buy that. That's more like 10 years.
9, 10
Yeah,
years.
that seems reasonable.
Okay.
I
Sounds
joined them
right.
in 2012.
Okay. So you're fairly.
He's a new guy.
Yeah, I mean, but it was great.
Well, I went to y'all's website, which is www.klezlocal42.com.
Oh,
And
okay.
You guys have. Well, I was telling them the website.
No, I'm glad to know that. Thank you, because I had no idea.
You guys can find their album Yiddish Planet there. and
Fear
listen-
of
Fear of a
Fear
Yiddish
of-
Planet.
Okay.
It's a
all right.
little riff on Public Enemy, a little before your time, Sonny. But yeah, I wanted to call the album
He wouldn't know what
Fear
that.
of a Yiddish
I
Planet.
know what it is.
Okay. Good.
Okay.
So none of y'all are actually from Athens.
Nobody's from Athens.
No, but y'all all met.
Which
here.
is good
Yeah.
because the fact that everybody's been experiencing different types of music growing up and learned different things. Some were classically trained and rock bands and this and that. As you know, Dan plays with 5/8, and so it brings kind of all these different experiences into the band and makes a weird mix. And it's kind of cool.
That's true. I mean, it does rub off on the band. We call ourselves a Klezmer band, but it's not strict. We draw from a lot of sources, including we seem to lean pretty heavily on classic rock. But that's just because of how we all grew up. Because I mean, we're that old. To elucidate a little, it's very improvisational, and it's very emotional, and it's very danceable. It makes people dance. That's really the whole purpose of Klezmer, is for people to cut loose and dance. And then, if I may elucidate even further, I think that Klezmer has a beautiful way of mixing up happiness and sadness in the same notes. Like, really, most great art is a combination of happiness and sadness. Like, it's every emotion. And I think Klezmer is, like, has that just right up front. And it kind of reflects the whole Jewish outlook of life in that way. I think it's a beautiful thing.
And now you said that you would pull in a classic rock.
Do
y'all have a
the
formula?
The Klezmer purists would probably hate
That's
our
what
band.
I was wondering, because you're gonna bring in a classic rock song.
In
Do y'all
some ways.
Klezmerize it somehow?
Oh yeah, we do
So
that. We do that from time to time. Yeah, we'll throw it in, or we'll play a classic rock melody over a klezmer rhythm or something like that, or vice versa. Luckily, there just aren't enough. I mean, if there are klezmer purists out there, I don't really hear from them because we're kind of the
Well, there aren't that many Klezmer bands.
we're
But
kind of
like,
the
what
big
about in New
fish
York
in a-
City?
Yeah, well, I'll let you know when we play them. We're kind of big fish in a little pond. And the whole reason I really started Klezmer, the real reason I wanted to, is because when I got married the first time, me and my wife had to import a Klezmer band from Atlanta. And I was like, what? This is a travesty. We need to start our own homegrown Athens Klezmer band. And then corner the market as rapidly as possible.
Right.
The funny thing is we've actually got a pretty good following down in South Georgia that who would have thought that down in South Georgia you'd have a good Klezmer following, but of course there's a pretty big Klezmer, or rather Jewish contention in Charleston and that area, so in Savannah.
Okay, so do
Right.
you guys go down there often?
We go
Yeah, we play
a couple
this
times a year.
There's a couple of festivals down there. There's actually a Jewish festival in Brunswick, and there's one in Savannah, and we usually play both those every year.
Y'all travel, all 9 of y'all together?
We'll
We
travel
travel-
anywhere you want
go.
to pay us to
we
play.
we
Whoever.
traveled. A lot of shows there aren't actually 9 people. There's like 8 or sometimes 7.
Plus or minus 1.
Yeah, plus or minus 1 or 2.
Right.
And we'll take like 3 cars.
Gotcha.
Is how we usually do it. We gotta go in 3 cars, and we just do 3 cars. A couple of hybrids in the mix, so we do okay.
Okay. So to close out the chat today, is there anything that you want to say about your performance of Hebrew School?
Oh, that I wrote that song. It was autobiographical. It really was. I've written a few songs, and that one actually was true. Not like Hanukkah and Dahlonega. I wrote that, and that was just, I said that because it rhymed, but I've never been to Dahlonega. I did go afterwards, after I wrote the song, and I was like, whoa, I should have written about real estate agents, because there's a lot of them. But Hebrew school was totally actually true to life. Like, I went to this Hebrew school, and it was mean, and I couldn't handle it as a 6-year-old. It was kind of like, I felt very
Never got
oppressed.
over it.
All right, so you wrote a song about it.
So I wrote a song about it,
Gotcha.
just like 40 years later.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for coming out. Eddie?
Thank you. I appreciate
Dan?
it.
Thanks.
Of course.
Dan and
Thank you
Eddie,
very
thank
much.
you for coming.
Thanks for asking
All
us.
right. Up next is Klezmer Local 42's performance of Hebrew School over in the live room. So here we go.
In the future.
Hebrew school, Hebrew school, Hebrew school, Hebrew school.
Aleph, Beis, Gimel, Dalet. Our team is really solid. Give him dairy sandwiches at. It's a yarmulke, answer just like deep, dark, scary, stark, right to left. Hillel's Geschäft.
Hebrew school, Hebrew school.
You wanna set or a sark? If you shake him, it don't leave a mark. Wanna learn in their baruchas, and learning them in Tatschen Duchas. Now pity the 5-year-old who has to pee. You held it in at Hillel Academy.
Hebrew school, Hebrew school, Hebrew school, Hebrew school.
I know it sounds like it's no fun, but that was 1971. Now it's a much nicer place, man, since the principal left in disgrace. Knocked off his throne, just like Al Capone. They put him in prison for tax evasion. And for the abuse, he got the calaboose. He never got the point till he was inside the joint. Was he drunk on Yingling when they sent him off to Sing Sing? Or is he up in Rikers with some outlaw bikers? Is he feeling wholesome, living in Folsom? Or just like chopped liver sent